Alright, what the freaking heck is up, gamers, and welcome to the unofficial but epic Darryl rework. If you think Darryl needs a rework, then subscribe. And if I don't have 2 million subscribers by tomorrow, I will delete my channel, metaphorically. This rework, unfortunately, will not have the same quality that my Frank one did because I made that one for Reddit, I made that one for Twitter. This one is just for the YouTube guys. Nobody else knows about this one yet. But I've also come to learn that apparently reworks in this game are not that in-depth because Frank got an attack speed increase based on his missing health, and that was called a rework. So now I don't know what the definition of rework is. But when I think of a rework, I think of changing at least a couple fundamental mechanics of the brawler from something that they used to be to something brand new. Also, I will be giving Darryl a hypercharge in this video as well. So let me just give you a quick teaser of what I'm thinking. So I'm going to change his main attack just a little bit. His super is going to be pretty much the same, except I didn't even realize that he had a damage reduction during his super without a star power. That is news to me. I'm going to rework steel hoops. I'm going to rework rolling reload. I'm going to rework recoiling rotator, and I'm also going to rework tar barrel. Actually, most of these abilities just won't exist anymore because I feel like Darryl should have a big overhaul. I just think that Darryl is a little bit outdated, and these outdated brawlers could probably use a bit of spice so then they can feel like a newer brawler. So starting out with the main attack, I would only want to change this like a little bit, if at all. To me personally, sometimes his main attack feels a little inconsistent, but I also have not played him very much ever since they kind of fixed it because they changed like the projectile speed or whatever. So it actually feels a little bit better now. I was originally going to say we should make it a little bit faster, but they've already done that. Like, my only idea was that like if the attack felt a little clunky or slow, which it honestly doesn't anymore, then I would just increase the unload speed a little bit and maybe like reduce his damage by a little bit as well to make sure he doesn't do too much damage. But I'm not gonna lie, it feels fine, so I'm not gonna change that very much. And now that I know that his super has a automatic shield on it without the star power, that kind of makes my steel hoops rework a little bit different too. First thing I'm going to actually completely change is recoiling rotator. I know that this gadget has some uses, like on a heist safe, you can spin around in a specific way and it does a ton of damage. That's also a little bit cheesy, and most of the time, that's the only value you're gonna get out of this gadget. I know it can help you kill brawlers, but it feels so inconsistent and weird like 90% of the time. And some people also use it to get their supercharge because that's what it does, but still, I don't know. It feels like a janky old gadget that could just be completely changed because of how old it is. I'm replacing it with a long roll. Darryl's roll currently looks like this. Well, I would increase this by like 10 times. So if I rolled right then, I would reach the top of the map and even start going down a little bit. It would be the longest dash or roll in the entire game because that's what Darryl used to have. And I think that he should at least have it as like a gadget, if not a hypercharge. But I actually think that would be a bad idea for the hypercharge. So that's why I'm not doing that. So imagine I just roll like 5 to 10 times right now. That's how long his roll would be if I press the gadget button. This roll can be very, very useful sometimes, but it is a situational gadget, which gives you the illusion of choice, which is a good thing. Honestly, when I'm playing Darryl, I don't even know which gadget to take because they both feel pretty underwhelming to me. And it's because he's an old brawler, and these used to be huge, crazy things back then. Second gadget, tar barrel, is getting removed and replaced with something completely different. So currently, all this does is slow people nearby him, which can be useful, but like I was saying before, it doesn't feel very unique, although it used to be a crazy thing like 5 years ago. Funny thing is though, this is exactly what Rosa's hypercharge is. So Rosa got a hypercharge from a Darryl gadget basically. So my new idea for this gadget is to play around with this rolling and bouncing mechanic, because I feel like most of the time people actually don't utilize the fact that Darryl can bounce. The best way to play Darryl is to just roll straight in like this and go to town with auto aim. And you can be a little fancy with some bounces if you want to, but like most of the time you're better off just getting the right distance and rolling straight in so then you can bounce on them. But my new gadget, in replacement of the slow-mo gadget, will make it so then you can stop yourself by hitting a wall. So if I were to super right now, I would hit the wall and I would stop at the wall. But when I hit the wall, I would crash into it because this gadget is called Crash or something. I don't know. I didn't make names for them. We're just gonna call it the Crash gadget. So if I crash into the wall, it'll be kind of like a buzz super where I hit the wall and then there's a little AoE explosion and that stuns people around me, or it could push people back, but that wouldn't make sense. So I'm going to say it would stun people for like a second or less, and it would probably damage them as well. So it's a way to add a little bit of utility to Darryl that he didn't have before, and it would kind of change your game plan. If you have a wall near you, it would just be a little bit fun in my opinion. And then you have the problem where like you roll with the gadget active and you don't hit a wall. So just like this, you know, either I would say it just wouldn't activate, so you would still have the gadget spinny thing above your head, or it would just explode anyways if you like hit a brawler or something. That could also work. Maybe that would be too overpowered, so that's why I'm saying you could just make it so then it continues the cycle and your next super will still use it. Listen, I'm not here to balance the game. That is what numbers are for. I'm just here to make cool, goofy abilities. So now that I know about Darryl's passive ability with his shield, I'm a little bit iffy about changing steel hoops, but I still want to add to it a little bit. So my idea was to like remove its current ability, which is just a 25% shield after you roll. So I'm assuming that you have the 50% shield during the roll, and then you have 25% for only 2 seconds after the roll, which makes me worried about the idea that I had, because this seems really weak. But maybe it's like this because he has so much health, but he's also a bad brawler right now, so maybe that's a reason why. Anyway, I would keep the name Steel Hoops because it makes sense. However, I would incentivize bouncing even more because he bounces, bro. That's like his main thing. He is a bouncy brawler. He's the only brawler who can just bounce himself around like this. So he could keep the 50% shield while he's rolling. That's perfectly fine. But for every bounce he does, he could either get anywhere from like a 10% to 15% to 20% stacking shield. So if I were to bounce twice right now, let's say I would have like a 30% shield. But if I only bounced 0 times, I would have like what, like a 10% shield. So this star power would incentivize you to actually like use your roll, so then you can do more with it, you know, just to make him a more unique brawler where you don't just go straight in. You would be rewarded for actually bouncing and using his mechanic. So it's kind of like the Colette star power, where the more enemies you hit, the bigger your shield is, which is why I thought it would be interesting if you had like, you know, 5 rolls and then you get like a 60% shield for 2 or 3 seconds. Like, I think that would be pretty fun. I don't know, let me know what you guys think about this, but like, even if it was broken, they could just nerf the numbers and then make it more balanced. So I'm making like potentially broken abilities that could just be balanced like later, 2 weeks down the line after he has his week of glory. Now I am replacing rolling reload entirely, which is kind of going into the hypercharge that I'm making for him. Now this might be just turning Darryl into like an assassin version of Colette, but my idea for this star power, which I didn't even realize that these were kind of related to Colette's until after I thought of them, but whatever. This one is similar to Colette's pushing star power. However, if I were to roll into this bot right here, it would drag the bot with me until the end of my roll to add a little bit more utility to me, so then I can either, you know, push somebody out of place with me or just use it as a kill confirm, because I would roll into them, they would come with me, and I would be in the perfect position to hurt them. So like, even if I were to like bounce my roll, they would end up exactly where I am at the end of the roll, so then I can blast at them. It's a crowd control ability. It's setting you up for success. A little bit too overpowered? Possibly, who knows, man. But it would be a little bit different than Colette's push it star power, because she goes back after her super ends, so it's not like she sets herself up right next to somebody. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know, maybe I'm horrible at this. But yeah, Darryl does not have a hypercharge, and I feel like that's a big reason he's a bad brawler right now. You could honestly put that like crash gadget into his hypercharge. That would work just fine. But my other idea was a little bit different. It's kind of similar to like Edgar's hypercharge in a way. And the reason why I don't think his hypercharge would be good as the super long roll is because not only would you be wasting the hypercharge duration with that roll, half the time you're not even going to want to have a roll that long. So having that as a hypercharge just wouldn't make sense. I would rather pick a long roll gadget for a map that would actually be useful with it. This hypercharge would make his super roll even faster, and I would say that it could possibly get a little bit more range and even a little bit more speed with each bounce that you do. Another way to incentivize him bouncing. I feel like that's a really underutilized mechanic with him. Like, he doesn't have any abilities that help him after you bounce, which I don't really get, but that's another argument for him being a little bit outdated. Maybe they didn't think about that at the time. So let's say he has a faster roll. It just gets momentum as you bounce. I think that would be fun. But after you're done rolling, you have like increased reload speed, maybe increased unload speed or something like that. You're a little bit quicker with the hypercharge. You already have the movement speed, but the roll speed would be more, so you're just kind of zooming around with that, and you can shoot a bit faster. He would probably be like a demon, but I think it would be pretty fun. And that would probably help the fact that his safe destroying gadget is removed in this rework. But yeah, that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think. This could be the worst rework in the world, but I like putting a lot of thought into the brawler's like base mechanics and like the idea revolving around the brawler, because like, dude, he can bounce himself. Nobody else can really do that in this game. So I wanted to put that into the rework as much as possible. So yeah, just leave a comment telling me what you think, which ideas are good, which ideas are bad. bad? Like, what should not be removed from him? Like, should he keep one of these gadgets? Should he keep one of the star powers? Should they just do a thing where they change one mechanic on Darryl and then call it a day like they did with Frank, because that made Frank broken, but it didn't fundamentally change him that much at all. I'm not saying that's really a bad thing, but I just want to see people bouncing around with Darryl again, bro. That was really fun back when people would do it all the time. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Subscribe, drop a like. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.